He's running at a goal every 24 minutes, which is obviously extraordinary. Now, first things first, that will settle. You know, he won't always start as a sub, and you know, as soon as he's got one game where he hasn't scored any, and that will happen at some stage. You add 90 minutes to this, and the whole average starts, by definition, to average out, and,
yes.
and it will look a little bit different. But the other reason why I think it's not necessarily the right response to this to say, well, this shows that A, he should never have gone to Barcelona in the first place. I think that's actually probably a more legitimate argument, and B, that Barcelona shouldn't have let him go. And the reason for this is that actually what Paco Alcácer is doing now is not massively out of sync with what he's done all of his career. If you look at his goal scoring record at Barcelona by minute, it's really not that bad. I think it's something like a goal every 141 minutes in his first season. I think there was only 7, maybe 8 players ahead of him in the whole of La Liga, and in the second season it came down a bit, but it was still better than a goal every 2 games. So his contribution is actually relatively consistent, and so a lot has been made, for example, about what's really changed is the confidence with which he's playing. And I'm not sure if that's necessarily true. I think continuity rather than confidence is a question of actually getting the minutes with which to score the goals. Admittedly, he's scoring them at the moment at a phenomenal rate, which, as I say, won't be kept up. The other reason why I think you can unpack this a bit is that, let's look at that stat again. No starts in the Bundesliga, and yet he's called up to the Spain squad. Now, what that tells you is that there's a residual respect for him, even if he's not playing, because it's not normal to call a player up to a national team squad who hasn't even started for his club yet. And so what that tells you is that the manager who's running Spain thinks that there's something he can offer us, particularly in the absence, and this is the key question here, of Diego Costa, who's injured. So he calls him up. Who is that manager? Luis Enrique. One of the 2 managers he worked with at Barcelona. So it's not that he was at Barcelona and he had a manager who thinks he's rubbish. He was at Barcelona and he had a manager who thought, well, Paco Alcácer's quite good. But here's the answer. Messi, Neymar, Suarez, then Messi, Dembele, Suarez. Even in the season when Dembele was injured a lot, then Barcelona went to 4 across midfield and tightened up. So I think in a way what we're saying is that, or what I'm trying to say is that Paco Alcácer is kind of doing what Paco Alcácer does. He's a very, very good striker who scores a lot of goals, but the reality is the people ahead of him are probably that little bit better.